Welcome to Vivana Skill Acquisition Training. My name is Adam Heyman. Please don't hesitate to contact me with any questions at adam.heyman@vivana.com. This will take us through the steps of defining a new skill to be acquired, entering data for that skill, view the historical log of the data, and analyze the data with a graph. We start by opening up our web browser and going to vivana.com. We then click to log in. Enter your username and password and click log in. As I have no clients attached to this account, Vivana immediately asks me to create a new person. We will create a new client. ID is an optional field. This client's name is Elliot Richards. He was born in May 18th, 2001. He is a white male. Social Security is an optional field as well. We have other tabs to add more information about the child's education, their guardian, and health insurance. For the purpose of this video, we don't need those fields, so I will just click Save Changes. And that creates our new client. Before we can enter data on a new skill, we need to define that skill. Define skill acquisition. We need to click Add Item, and then we can create the skill. We want Elliot to be able to reject an item or activity correctly. The type of the skill is acquisition. Procedure is the list of steps that we want Elliot to follow. When presented with a non-preferred item or activity, staff will provide a verbal prompt. Elliot will say, "No," or "No, I don't want that." The item or activity will then be removed. The discriminative stimulus, or SD, is the presentation of a non-preferred item or activity. The prompt will be a verbal prompt. That defines the skill. To measure the success of the skill acquisition, we need measurements. I will use frequency and prompt. As it's a new skill, we'll set the threshold at 60%. We want to observe this 60% over a period of 3 days. And our prompt will be verbal to initiate the skill. I'll save that. Once the skill is defined, we can go to Enter Data to enter trials of the skill to see if Elliot has acquired it. We have a drop-down list to choose the skills that we are testing. In this case, I only have one skill in my database, rejecting an item or activity. The date field is automatically filled in with the present time and date. We can change that by editing the field or by using our date picker. By clicking the calendar, we can choose the date from a calendar. We can also use the time button to choose a different time. To add a trial, we click the Trial Add button. Each click adds a new instance of the trial. To remove a trial, we click on the trash can, and that removes that particular trial. Let me add 5 trials and scroll down so we can see them. To mark the successful completion of a trial, we click on the trial and then use our drop-down menu to choose how the child was prompted into performing this skill. Verbal is what we want to see. Note that when we mark a trial as successfully completed, the frequency is automatically updated. 1 out of 5 trials is 20%. If I click another trial and mark it verbal, we will see 40%. Note that if we choose independent, meaning the child independently completes the skill without a prompt, that also counts as a successful trial. Prompts other than verbal and independent will not be marked as successful completions. I switch to a gestural prompt, and my frequency drops to 40%. You can add notes to these trials to note anything you want to remember about this particular set of trials. I still need to save these trials. I can save the information as private, meaning only I have access to this list of trials. I could save it as shared, meaning other people could also see these trials. I will choose to save this as shared and click the button to save. I will go ahead and add several data points so we can chart the information on a graph. Note that you can choose dates in the past or future. It is September 6th when I do this, but I'm going to enter data for the 9th through the 13th to give myself a week of information. And I will accelerate time to speed up the process. We now have a week's worth of data. I can see a log of the data under Historical Data. Historical Data, Skill Acquisition. This will present a log of all of my entries. Note that right now I'm only seeing the September 4th entry, and that is because my start and end date in my filter don't accommodate next week's data. If I change the end date to the 14th, then click Filter, now I see all of my entries for next week. Always be sure your filter is set to see the data that you want. From the historical data log, we also have the ability to edit an entry. Let me add a note to this entry. Once I click to save that, the note is added to the entry. The other button, the trash can icon, would allow you to delete an entry. It confirms the delete before it will actually delete it. I will cancel that. Our red expansion button allows us to remove the filter from the screen, giving us more space to see the entries. Clicking it again brings the filter back. Clicking the question mark button brings up our help. This allows us to see a little more information about different topics. Clicking the back button returns us to the previous screen. Now that our data is entered, we can go to Analyze to see a graph of the information. Analyze, Skill Acquisition. Note that we're only seeing one data point. That is because our filter is not set correctly. We need to adjust the end date to capture all of our data. We can also adjust the start date to better show our data. Our first data point is on the 4th, so let's pad it by choosing the 3rd. Using our expansion tool, or maximize, we can remove the filter from the screen and see the chart in a larger format. Clicking it again would return us to the previous view. I'll leave it maximized. The question mark is our help button. This will give us the same help feature we saw previously. Back returns us to the previous screen. The Show Condition Line button is used to add a condition line. I'll add a line to show where my trials begin. Our initial data point was the 4th, and then our trials begin on the 9th. I will place a condition line on the 8th to show where that split occurs. Hit the Save button to save that condition line. The Delete button would delete it. Let me save it. And then return to my chart. The condition line won't appear until we refresh the graph. And then the condition line appears. This concludes our skills acquisition training. Thank you for participating in Vivana. Remember, the more data that you enter, the better the analysis will be. Please provide us with feedback so we can improve the program. You can email me at adam.heyman@vivana.com. Thank you.